What if I told you that you wouldn't survive even 3 hours in the world of your own ancestors? Imagine the moment the sun slips behind the horizon and you feel your stomach twist, not from hunger, but fear. You're not in a home. There's no lock, no flashlight, no fire, just the weight of the night. It presses in like a living thing. The darkness in the world before fire wasn't poetic. It was a predator. It swallowed you whole, and in that endless black, every sound became a potential death sentence. A low rustle in the grass could be a rat, or a snake, or a saber-tooth. You couldn't take the risk to find out. Most of us think we know what fear is. Horror movies, haunted houses, panic attacks. But early humans didn't feel fear from imagination. They felt it from the sheer reality that any wrong move could end their life. You crouch low inside a narrow cave, one you didn't build. You share it with scorpions, maybe bats. Your back aches from a day spent foraging, avoiding predators, watching the sun like a lifeline you pray won't disappear too soon. But it does. And then come the sounds. Night was the domain of the beasts, panthers with eyes that pierced the dark, gigantic hyenas with bone-breaking jaws, and the shadows of ancient wolves, smarter and faster than you. There was no time to rest, only time to remain still. You learned to sleep with one eye open, and even then, not too deeply. Unlike modern life, where light flicks on at a switch, our ancestors lived at the mercy of the sky. When the sun died, so did safety. Every night, they rehearsed death. They memorized the noises of danger. They knew the difference between a twig snap that meant wind and one that meant something watching. For millions of years, humans didn't master nature. They survived by hiding from it. And they did it without fire, without warmth, without a sense of time. It's one thing to be cold. It's another to be freezing in pitch black, unsure whether the tickle on your ankle is a beetle or the feeler of something worse. You think you could survive? You think you could adapt? Then answer this. Could you lie in silence, knowing something is out there, but not knowing what it is or when it will strike? You like to think you're the top of the food chain, right? The dominant species? The apex predator? In the world before fire, you weren't even in the top 5. Let's set the scene. You're hungry. Again. Not the, what should I order? Kind of hungry. The kind of hunger that makes your bones ache. That forces your brain to fight itself. Wait or risk. Your tools? A stick, a rock, maybe a sharpened bone. No metal, no traps, no ranged weapons, just hands. Soft, slow hands. And even then, you're not alone. Out in the savannah, another set of eyes watches the same prey. But they're not like you. They're faster, silent, with teeth designed to end life, not struggle with it. Saber-toothed cats didn't hesitate. Dire wolves hunted in packs with precision, and giant crocodiles waited in watering holes, jaws open like death's invitation. You weren't a hunter. You were competition. And here's the real kicker. Most early hominins didn't kill their prey. They waited for the real predators to eat, then crept in, terrified, to scavenge the leftovers. Yes, your ancestors, the same ones whose DNA runs through your veins, ate scraps, rotting carcasses, half-chewed bones, whatever wasn't guarded or already digested. Disgusted. Good. Because that's where the story begins. They licked marrow from cracked bones, used their stone flakes to scoop out whatever meat was left, clinging to tendons. They didn't feast, they scraped by. And every time they did, they risked their lives. Hyenas don't share. Lions don't negotiate. Scavenging wasn't an act of desperation, it was strategy. A balancing act between risk and reward. Too slow, and the food's gone. Too bold, and you become the meal. Imagine crouching beside a rotting zebra corpse, flies in your face, your stomach twisting with hunger and horror. And a shadow crosses behind you, A low growl vibrates through your chest. You freeze. Do you run or keep eating? Because either choice could be your last. You weren't the apex predator. You were just clever enough to survive the ones that were. And even that was temporary. You think you're afraid of the dark now? Try darkness where every sound means death. Try sleeping where shadows move, not because of wind, but because something out there wants your blood. Night in the prehistoric world wasn't just night. It was a hunt. And you were on the menu. Before fire, humans were defenseless in the dark. No torches, no walls, no alarms. When the sun dipped behind the trees, the world belonged to the beasts. Eyes glowed in the distance. Hyenas called out with that bone-chilling laugh. Snakes moved silently across sleeping bodies. And the forest floor, alive with creeping things. Spiders, scorpions, centipedes the length of your arm. Now picture this. You're part of a small band. 10, maybe 12 individuals. You've eaten, gathered leaves for bedding, and huddled under an outcrop or in a tree hollow. No stories, no campfire, just silence, or worse, someone softly crying in fear. Because tonight, you're not alone. Something is stalking you. It smells you. Rock, thorns, and monsters. Your ancestors didn't always sleep through the night. They slept in shifts. They nested in trees. Some even tried hiding in burrows like animals. Why? Because everything in the dark was faster, stronger, and deadlier than them. Fear shaped humanity. It made us cooperate, watch each other's backs, whisper instead of talk. And later, it pushed us towards something revolutionary, the pursuit of fire. But back then, in that eternal night, you weren't hunting. You were being hunted. The sun has vanished behind the jagged ridge, and with it, the last comfort of warmth and vision. There are no torches, no lamps, no hearths, just a small group of early hominins, Homo habilis perhaps, huddled in the mouth of a rock overhang. Their world plunges into absolute darkness. No fire means no light. And without light, you are blind. The stars above shimmer silently, but they offer no warmth, no safety, only a reminder of how far away everything truly is. Beneath the stars, the forest pulses with invisible life. Eyes blink in the dark. Leaves rustle with hidden movements. Something breathes, close. Your heartbeat now becomes a liability. Loud, too loud. They're not sleeping. They can't afford to. Each member of the group takes turns staying awake, alert, listening. Their senses are heightened, not by evolution, but by sheer terror. And you're not scared because you saw something. You're scared because you can't. Modern humans fear the dark for symbolic reasons. Stories, movies, childhood anxieties. But for our ancestors, darkness wasn't poetic. It was a daily life or death calculation. Without fire, the night belonged to predators. Big cats, packs of hyenas, giant snakes, insects crawling from the soil, and even other tribes, roaming the wilds, eyes trained by instinct and hunger. Early humans had no tents, no doors, no weapons stronger than sticks and stones. Their defense was proximity. They stayed close. Their tool was silence. They made no noise. Their prayer was luck. They didn't conquer the night. They survived it. You might be thinking, I'd climb a tree. Good luck. Most predators climb faster than you. I'd stay near water. Crocodiles live there. I'd move at night. Then you are the hunted. There were no good options. Only the least fatal ones. In the dark, it wasn't just dangerous, it was long. Then deep in the blackness of that endless night, it happens. A scream. Not human, but not quite animal either. A bone-rattling guttural screech tears through the forest like a blade. The group jolts awake. Eyes widen. Ears strain. No one knows what it is. They only know it's getting closer. The blood price of a meal. You're crouched low in tall grass. The sun is bleeding into the horizon, an amber warning that night is near. But there's no food in your belly, only pain. That gnawing ache behind your ribs isn't just discomfort, it's panic. If you don't eat tonight, you may not wake up tomorrow. Around you, your band of hominins, Homo habilis, moves with the whisper of shadows. No spears, no fire, just crude hand axes chipped from stone. You're not hunters, not really. You're scavengers, bottom feeders in a brutal ecosystem ruled by teeth and claws. The carcass of a wildebeest lies ahead, mostly torn to shreds by the lions who killed it. A few ribs, tendons, maybe a strip of hide, enough to survive another day if you're quick. But the lions haven't left. They're just beyond the brush, licking their blood-stained jaws, their eyes half closed in the heat, but still watching. Always watching. So here's the gamble. Do you wait for nightfall when the lions retreat, but the hyenas come? Or do you risk a charge now, praying they're too full to care? Your ancestors chose both. Some waited and died. Some charged and died. A few got lucky. Survival was a game of odds, and the currency was blood. You rush forward, howling like madmen, waving branches and screeching. It's not strength, it's desperation. The lions scatter, startled for a moment. Your clan descends on the meat, hacking, tearing, screaming. No time for manners, no fire to cook. You eat raw, rotting muscle with trembling fingers. Then comes the real terror, because the lions never left. They were testing you. A blur of gold explodes through the brush. Screams. A child dragged. A man crushed under paws. You run, but the guilt chases you longer than any predator. That was the trade-off in a world without fire. Food meant risk. Hunger meant courage. Every meal was a roll of the dice. And often, someone paid with their life. But hunger didn't just kill the body. It rewired the brain. Neuroscientists today know that chronic hunger, starvation-level hunger, alters cognition. It sharpens aggression, distorts judgment, warps empathy. Your ancestors? They lived in that state constantly. Every choice came with the scent of blood. Do you share the marrow with your sick brother? Or hide it for your child? Civilized morality hadn't been invented yet. There were no laws, only consequences. The weakest died. The strongest grew cold inside. And those who balanced cruelty with loyalty, those who knew when to fight and when to flee, they were the ones who made it to tomorrow. They were your ancestors. But here's something that might surprise you. They didn't just survive. They adapted. Over generations, scavenging gave way to ambush hunting. Packs of early Homo erectus learned to stalk herds. They observed, they tracked, they planned. Not with words, but with grunts, gestures, and gut instinct. They began to move in coordinated waves. One group flushing prey into ambush zones, another waiting with sharpened sticks. Still no fire, no metal, just stone and willpower, and the blood flowed. It wasn't pretty. Wounds festered. Infection was a death sentence. Sometimes they killed prey that was too big, oxen or even baby mammoths, and it turned on them. But the evolutionary reward was massive: protein. Meat built stronger bodies, better brains. It became the fuel that eventually allowed humans to become human. But back then, it only meant one thing: one more day. Imagine standing over a kill, breath steaming in the cold air, your tribe panting, trembling, smeared in gore, but alive. For now. In that moment, there was no time for stories, no time for firelight, just meat, bone, and 1,000 eyes watching from the dark. Because the next predator was always closer than you thought. But how did early humans defend themselves from the darkness when they had no fire, no fences, and no safe shelter? That terrifying question takes us into the next chapter. The sun is gone now, not setting, gone, swallowed whole by the horizon, leaving behind a sky so black it seems to pull heat from your bones. No stars, no moon, just darkness, thick as smoke. You sit with your band beneath a jutting cliff, bellies full, for once. But no one speaks. The kill was risky. There's blood in the air, and you can hear things out there. A twig snaps, then silence. A rustle, then nothing. But you know what's coming? Night is the kingdom of predators. The day belonged to lions and hyenas. But after dark, the shadows breathe with eyes you can't see. Saber-tooths, giant owls, packs of jackals, even ancient snakes that slithered through tall grass like ghosts. You can't see them, but they can smell you, and there's no fire to scare them off. Your ancestors didn't have fire yet. Not really. Not controlled fire. Maybe a few stumbled upon lightning-struck trees. Maybe someone once carried a burning branch for a while. But sustaining fire, creating it, that knowledge was still a million heartbeats away. So at night, they huddled together like prey. They curled into cliff sides, under trees, in shallow pits dug with bare hands. No tents, no tools, no flame. Only trembling bodies and quiet prayers to a sky they didn't understand. This is something we forget today. Modern humans are afraid of the dark. But your ancestors survived it. How? By becoming each other's shield. They slept in tight circles, backs against backs. Each member assigned a turn to stay awake, listen, watch. Those who nodded off during their shift sometimes didn't wake up at all. Others had to make unthinkable choices. If a predator came, do you cry out and risk the entire group? Or do you stay silent and pray it drags someone else? Sometimes the decision was made for you. We know this not just from imagination, but from fossilized remains. Ancient bones show claw marks on human rib cages, slashes from predators. Fractured skulls hint at midnight ambushes. Tooth indentations in femurs tell a chilling story. They were hunted, picked off in the night like any other animal. This wasn't myth. It was the rhythm of existence. But slowly, something changed. Early humans began to use their brains, not just for food, but for defense. They started choosing better places to sleep, high ground, narrow entrances, stone shelters with defensible positions. They used tools, rocks stacked as noise traps, thorny branches woven around resting areas to slow predators down. The most important discovery of all? Fear, shared, became strategy. They learned from each other, observed danger, passed it down, not with words, but with looks, gestures, warnings scratched into cave walls. Fear didn't paralyze them. It trained them, and eventually, it birthed fire. But for now, in this chapter of evolution, fire is still just a dream. The world is cold, the sky is vast, and the darkness feels like a mouth, always hungry. You sit, eyes wide, staring into blackness. In the distance, a scream tears through the night. Not human, not animal, something in between. You tighten your grip on the stone in your hand. Tonight, you survive with silence. Tomorrow, if you're lucky, you learn. In your warm room, under electric light, it's hard to imagine how fragile life once was. But that fragility, that vulnerability, it shaped everything. It taught our ancestors to cooperate, to listen, to prepare. Without fear, there is no progress. Without darkness, there is no need for light. But what finally changed everything? What was the spark? The exact moment humanity wrestled fire from nature and never gave it back? The next chapter reveals the invention that reshaped the human timeline forever. It didn't happen with a spark. It happened with a storm. Somewhere, tens of thousands of years ago, the sky shattered open. Lightning cracked the earth and set a tree ablaze. The flames roared like a wild animal. The smell of smoke and scorched bark spread for miles. Fire had arrived, but no one had made it. Not yet. Your ancestors watched from a distance, terrified, transfixed. It wasn't the first time they had seen fire. Lightning strikes, volcanic eruptions, wild bushfires. They were part of the natural world, but fire wasn't theirs. It was a god, a destroyer, unreachable, untrustable. Until something changed. Someone, maybe by desperation, maybe by genius, stepped forward. Imagine the scene. The tribe watches from behind a ridge, silent and low. The lightning-struck tree still smolders. Smoke curls upward into the sky like a warning. But one figure approaches, cautiously, step by step, hands trembling. They find a branch, its end glowing orange like a sleeping sun. Hot, but not yet out. They lift it like a relic, a miracle, and they bring it back. For the first time, fire doesn't fade with the storm. It travels with them. This is where history begins. The first taming of fire didn't come from invention. It came from observation, fear, and raw courage. It was passed from nature to human, not created, but captured. And from there, a revolution. Fire meant power. It gave light in the darkness. No longer were nights filled with helplessness. It offered heat against cold winds. No longer were caves the only refuge. It cooked meat. No longer did food rot or stay infested with disease. It hardened wooden spears. No longer were tools so fragile. But most importantly, it scared the things that used to scare us. Predators that once stalked the campfire ring now kept their distance. Humans began to sleep longer, think longer, plan better, dream. That single, burning branch led to more than just survival. It unlocked the night. For the first time in millions of years, a hominin could stare into darkness, and it blinked first. Scientists today have traced this leap through the layers of ash found in ancient campsites across Africa, Asia, and Europe. Charred bones, soot-stained cave walls, fire pits surrounded by stone. The patterns are consistent. Fire wasn't a one-time trick. It was a tool, mastered, maintained, shared. Anthropologists believe that fire control dates back at least 1 million years, possibly even more. One particularly famous site, Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. Inside, researchers found signs of controlled fire dating back 1 million years. Ash mixed with burnt bones, deeply buried in sediments. These weren't wildfires. These were hearths. Someone had kept that flame alive. The brain changed. Fire didn't just transform survival. It transformed consciousness. How? Cooking made calories more efficient. Less energy was needed to digest raw meat, meaning more could fuel the brain. Suddenly, the brain grew. Social interaction increased. Fire created safe communal spaces at night. Stories were born, told by flickering light. Ideas were exchanged. Tools improved. Strategies evolved. Fire gave us not just warmth, it gave us time. Time to think, to imagine, to become. In a way, you could say, fire made us human. And yet, controlling fire was only the beginning. The real miracle wasn't carrying flame from a tree. It was creating it. That moment, that exact point in history where a human struck two stones together or rubbed dry wood until it smoked. That was the true spark of civilization. And that's where we go next. It's one thing to carry a flame. It's another thing entirely to create one. For hundreds of thousands of years, early humans were fire keepers, not fire makers. They guarded flame like treasure, feeding it, covering it, transporting embers between camps. If the fire died, the tribe was at risk of freezing, starving, or falling back into darkness. But somewhere along the line, something changed. A spark, in the mind, and then a real one. Imagine this moment, a primitive figure, crouched beneath a dry tree canopy. A cold wind howls through the valley. The tribe is shivering, their last ember gone cold. But one person, watching, thinking, picks up two stones. Not just any stones, flint and iron pyrite. They strike. And for a brief second, just a flicker, a spark dances in the dust. Most likely, the first fire makers didn't fully understand what they'd done. They noticed it by accident, sparks from striking stones, heat from rubbing dry sticks. Repetition led to realization. And over time, they turned nature's wildest force into a repeatable act. They could make fire whenever they wanted. This moment changed everything. Early fire-making techniques varied by region and available tools. But the most famous methods still used by some traditional societies today include 1. The hand drill, a straight stick twirled rapidly between the palms against a wood base. Friction produces heat, and eventually a glowing ember. 2. The bow drill. A stringed bow is used to spin the stick faster. More control, more pressure, better success. This was a major advancement. 3. Flint and pyrite, or later, flint and steel. Striking flint against iron pyrite shaves off tiny particles of metal, igniting them through sheer heat. These weren't just survival skills. They were technology. And every time a child learned to make fire, they inherited the ultimate human secret. As humans migrated out of Africa, into Europe, Asia, and beyond, they carried this knowledge. Fire was no longer tied to natural events like lightning. It was part of the human toolkit. Campfires burned across freezing plains and jungle forests. They followed nomads, hunter-gatherers, early farmers. From the Siberian steppe to the Australian outback, fire told the world, humans are here now. And wherever fire went, everything changed. Forests were cleared for settlement. Animals were driven by fire herding. Landscapes were sculpted over generations. The planet was being reshaped, not just by survival, but by intent. As fire became more reliable, it moved from an outdoor threat to an indoor miracle. The first permanent hearths were carved into caves. Later, shelters were built around fire. The hearth became the heart of the home. It provided a constant center, warmth, cooking, light, protection, and most of all, connection. At night, stories were told, wounds were tended, fears were voiced. The fire wasn't just physical, it became spiritual. It represented the boundary between chaos and order, wildness and civilization, death and life. With dependable fire, humans had more than just time. They had space to think. They began painting on cave walls by firelight. They invented rituals. They buried their dead near the warmth. They imagined gods, spirits, ancestors, often born from or living within the flame. Some of the oldest mythologies speak of fire as sacred. In Hinduism, Agni, god of fire, carries prayers to the heavens. In Greek myth, Prometheus steals fire from the gods. and is punished for giving it to man. In Aboriginal Australian culture, the fire song lines connect the land, ancestors, and time. No matter where you look, fire is central to human belief. It is memory. It is power. It is us. Still think you'd survive 3 hours in a caveman's world? Try starting a fire in a rainstorm, with no lighter, no matches, no gas, no electricity, just sticks, stones, and desperation. Now imagine your family's life depends on it. Ancient humans weren't just surviving. They were innovating under pressure, surrounded by predators, disease, hunger, and uncertainty. And yet, they lit the world. Until now, fire was humanity's friend, a source of light, warmth, and survival. But eventually, it became something else. A tool for destruction, a weapon. And this moment in our deep past didn't just change how early humans survived, it changed how they dominated. Because once you control fire, you don't just survive nature. You bend it to your will. Scorched earth, early ecological warfare. Long before modern warfare, early humans discovered something chilling. Fire could control the land. They used it to burn away thick brush, to expose prey trap animals by surrounding them with fire, regrow grasslands to attract herds, drive out rival predators. This method is called fire stick farming, and it's still practiced by some indigenous Australian cultures today. It reshapes ecosystems with astonishing precision. In a way, fire became prehistoric agriculture's first tool, but it also had a darker side. Entire forests were torched. Species vanished from charred habitats. Rivals were pushed out or burned out. Fire wasn't just helping humans live, it was helping them win. When one tribe had fire and another didn't, the power imbalance was huge. Picture this. Your camp is made of thatch and bark. You hear footsteps in the night, and then suddenly, a flaming torch flies through the air. Your home is ablaze. Your people scatter. No arrows fired. No spears thrown. Just fire. It was psychological warfare. Terrifying, unstoppable, and impossible to fight back against unless you had fire too. Some archaeologists believe fire-based raiding was common among early tribes, especially in areas where resources were scarce. Fire was a message. We're stronger. Leave or burn. Once fire became a threat, defense became innovation. Communities began to build stone perimeters around hearths, clear trees in wide circles to create fire breaks, dig fire pits below ground to prevent visibility, develop rituals and guards to protect the flame. Now, it was strategic. And every tribe knew, control fire or lose everything. Eventually, fire helped ancient humans spread further, faster. Dense forests were once impossible to cross, but with fire, you could burn paths, create open hunting fields, push back wilderness. It allowed for movement, not just survival in place. This expansion changed human behavior from reactive to proactive, and for species that had once been prey, fire made them predators of the planet. The psychology of fire. There's something uniquely human about our relationship with fire. No other animal creates it. Few dare to get near it. But we are drawn to it. Flickering flame ignites something ancient in our minds. A sense of power, danger, mystery. Even today, we gather around fire pits, light candles, burn incense, and stare into bonfires as if hypnotized. It's coded into our brains because for thousands of years, fire was everything. So let's bring it back to you. Imagine you're dropped into a prehistoric clearing. You've got no matches, no lighter, no gas, just your hands and the chill of night settling in. Across the field, a tribe watches you. They hold torches, their faces painted with ash. Their campfire burns, controlled, crackling, alive. They are the rulers of this land. And you? You're just another animal. No fire, no shelter, no chance. The legacy of fire. The story of humanity can't be told without fire. It shaped our tools, our homes, our myths, and our wars. From warmth to warfare, cooking to conquest, ritual to revenge, the control of fire made us who we are. And long before the wheel, before writing, before cities, fire was our first great technology. It turned us from prey into the most powerful species on Earth. But the question remains, if you were dropped into that ancient world alone, barefoot, freezing, could you survive? Even 3 hours?